they are on your Super Bowl, the other firms that sort of were hoping to be part of this entire process? Wow, so there has been a flurry of activity. The IEBC conference that ended at KICC yesterday, and while making an address at that conference, NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga made some allegations with respect to this particular tender. President Uhuru Kenyatta, like I mentioned, also touched a little bit on IEBC while he was in Eldoret, and today we saw IEBC meeting the presidential candidates in the morning, and the Ekuru court raised some serious concerns as well. Let me speak to Chrispus, Yankem, and Brenda, Mbivo, who are in studio with me. Thank you for joining me, and indeed for joining us on Worldview this afternoon. Let's begin from the sentiments of Ekuru Court, and he says we're looking at the prospects of a rigged election, and there's something he said, there is a consensus that this company should now not be printing the ballot papers. And he goes ahead to put Jubilee and indeed the president's family on notice, saying they have no business responding to IEBC concerns. Chrispus, what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Linda. And first of all, thank you for inviting me. I think I want to start by saying that I'd be very guarded on these for specific reasons,
okay,
or particular reasons for that matter. Now, before I actually respond to your question, I want to say that I'm a very worried man.
Why are you worried?
Because looking at the events that are shaping up these elections, they're the same events that we witnessed in 2007. This election has got all the makings of 2007. High-octane political campaigns that border on ethnic mobilization. I think that is a matter that all of us must be worried about. Now, responding to the consensus by one Ekuru Aukot, who's a presidential candidate in this election, I think I want to say that we must be worried as a country, whether consensus or not, because IEBC is a very important player in this election. And for us to be able to have a credible, free and fair election, we must be able to have confidence in the IEBC, which is the arbiter. Yes.
Joy, is there, how much of confidence is there in IEBC, do you think, right now?
IEBC has been taking punches and blows. Every day we wake up, there's a new story with the IEBC.
Yeah.
And if you are to take everything that's coming their way at face value, then you'd have very low confidence that the process would be credible, free or fair. The misfortune for me is this, is that even if there is nothing untoward about what is going on, the fact that this same firm had been shortlisted before and was the subject of litigation,
yes,
the least the IEBC would have done, if you'd have said, fine, I really like Linda, but for this one, let me pick Chrispus, so that
pick someone else, so that
yes, so that we just keep everything on the down low.
Yeah.
The fact that they went to back to a firm that had previously been rejected, to me, was the red flag. However, moving forward, now let me look at it like a lawyer and just say, look, the papers could be printed in River Road for all we care. But if the process is watertight, it should still be able to deliver a credible elections, because they are just pieces of paper at the end of the day. We hear there are 7 security features that are supposed to be on that ballot paper. It's one of those things where the paper is one of the components of this entire election. If we rubbish everything because of this one thing, then we run a risk. So how much confidence is there in IEBC? Right now, it's not very, even for me, who's a stalwart of let's believe in our institutions, let's give them a chance. This time around, I have to say, even when I'm looking at them with that eye of, really? But
okay,
we have to trust in something, because August 8th is not moving.
Let me try to defend them a little bit. Let me try to defend them a little bit, and Chrispus, I'll bring you to this. The allegations that are made by NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga, these guys met at State House, these guys have hosted the president's family and his people. Apparently, there's some IEBC officials who were sort of representing them in this whole thing. Listening into those allegations, are they enough to get this tender cancelled?
You know, these are allegations. The question is, do they actually hold water? I think I've seen a lot of write-ups in the press and yesterday in news media that actually suggest maybe, just maybe, there was a meeting, as NASA claims, between the representatives of Al Ghurair and the presidency. Now, does that actually question or lead us to question the credibility of Al Ghurair? That is, I think, the most fundamental questions that we must be able to answer. Then again, we need to look at what the law says. Because this is a high-octane election process, I think it is very important for us to approach all the issues with a lot of caution. Whether there are questions, it is very important for us to remember that the IEBC predecessor, led by Ahmed Isaac Hassan, went home not because of their credibility, but because of the allegations that were raised against their performance. Because we want to ensure that this process is free and fair, then as a country, we must be able to sit down, all stakeholders, and I like what IEBC has done yesterday. All stakeholders must be able to sit down and ask exactly how do we restore the confidence of IEBC. To me, the key thing is actually confidence. Whoever prints the papers doesn't matter to me. The question is, do we have the confidence in IEBC? Do we have the confidence on their credibility? Do we actually see him or see them as independent arbiters in this process?
Should it really matter who prints these papers?
I think to some extent it does. To some extent it actually does, because of the questions that are being raised.
Joy is very busy checking it. Joy, you don't think so?
But again, it is a question of the egg and the chicken.
Yeah.
Then again, it is how you look at it. That's why I'm saying, to me, the biggest question to answer is actually whether we have confidence in IEBC or not, and whether we trust them to ensure that they deliver a free and fair election.
Joy, it doesn't matter who prints this. I mean, Deputy President William Ruto said, we actually don't care. You can actually give this thing to Raila's company, Spectra for all we care. At the end of the day, we'll, by very early in the morning, we'll win against these guys. Does it matter?
And I agree with him. It does not matter who prints the papers. It does not matter who manufactures the ballot boxes. It doesn't matter whether they're sourced in Kenya or they're sourced abroad. What matters is what we've been saying here all along, the credibility of the process. Let me just break this down for Kenyans.
Please.
In the UK, the elections are run by Department of Government. What Kaiseri heads now, that will be the department running the elections. Why? Because they have a process that is watertight, such that the arbiter does not matter. What matters is the process. It's in place and it works. That's what we need in Kenya. The crisis we have right now with the commission is not that the commissioners are men and women of no integrity. I know some of them personally, and they're men and women of stellar integrity. Those are people who even shudder when their names are being mentioned in this cloud. It makes them itch.
Okay.
It's one of those things that as Kenyans we need to come to a place. We're not suspicious about everything. This is all what we call circumstantial evidence. It points to nothing. Was there a meeting? Even if there was,
Joy,
they could have been discussing about the birds of the air for all we care. But now we've been put in a place where we are in crisis mode.
Okay, so the allegations that are being made, by Raila legally, assuming they were even true, would that dent the credibility of IEBC? Just meetings. I mean, these guys just met, so...
And that's my point. We've gotten to a place where if people meet, we immediately become suspicious. It should be one of those things where we lay our system so firmly in place that the arbiter becomes a facilitator and not the decide all. Because where we've gotten to as a people right now, elections are so do and die until it's like we'll never have elections ever again. If our lawyer had be telling, if I was a NASA advocate, I'd be telling them, you know what, let them give it to our guy. In case we have to go to court, this is circumstantial evidence we can use to say, by the way, this process was lacking credibility.
So you can actually raise that. I mean, we actually raised concerns from the word go. We said this company should not have printed.
To be incredible. This is another stock we can add in the fire. But you know, if you're always crying wolf all the time, till people start raising questions of, do they really want an election, or will it be like this until
maybe they're trying to avoid a scenario where they have to contest the results.
I know. And on that score, by the way, we join issue.
Okay.
The process must be credible enough for everybody to understand. That's why I said, even I was surprised when they offered it to the company that was the subject of litigation.
And that is where a lot of people have a problem.
That for me was a huge red flag. I was like, why must we
this
have
particular company?
As you've shown us, there were other competent firms.
So probably they should have picked the rest.
They should have picked somebody else, even if it meant costing us a little bit more. We are the ones who are paying. We are happy to pick the bill. We didn't tell them we don't want to pay.
Chrispus,
Yes.
Chebukati says, we don't have time. We cannot cancel this. The elections must go on as planned. Way out.
I think the way out at the moment is to try and build consensus. And I think it is very critical for us to realize that if actually NASA has its way, that is to ensure that the contract is cancelled, Ezra Chiloba, the CEO, goes home, Kasait, who is in charge of voter registration, goes home. The import of this is actually a postponement of the election.
We don't have that choice.
Have
you
an
know,
election.
if we have to postpone the elections, we have to do a referendum.
Not necessarily.
Either that or
Not
we go
necessarily.
until August 8th.
Not necessarily, Linda.
Okay.
Not necessarily. I think it is a matter of looking at what the law says. I think Joy Mbivo is well versed in law.
Joy, you're a legal mind. Do we need a referendum?
We need a referendum to change the date from August 8th. But as
See?
it stands, if the date is August 8th, right now, we have no option but to carry out an election on August 8th.
What if you're not
and
ready?
if we don't
The
carry out
thing
an
is,
election on August 8th,
the thing is,
then we'll be in crisis because the current government continues to hold office until such a time when...
Okay, wait. So
Linda,
you need a referendum to change that date.
Yes.
Okay, go on.
the thing is whether we should have an election because the law says that we must have an election.
Very.
You know, we are in a
that's
country.
a very valid point, though.
It is very important for us to know that even IBC that went home, their term had not expired. And actually for us to have been able to send them home, we needed certain processes to be put in place.
Yeah.
But what happened? It was political consensus. So to me, even on this one, I think time will come whereby we shall ask, if things actually remain the way they are, we shall be able to sit down as a country and ask ourselves, do we go to an election because we want to go to an election?
I highly doubt we have that option.
As of now, we don't have.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if actually things continue the way they are, because we shouldn't, as a country, go to an election that is questioned.
Okay,
That
Joy,
is questionable.
legally, what options does Kenya have?
We have no option but to go to the polls on the 8th of August.
What if IEBC is not ready and probably this gets cancelled? What happens?
Who is going to cancel it? Chebukati has said they're not going to cancel it. All our noises here are not going to cancel
Which
it.
one? Which
Linda,
one is
Linda,
the
let
law?
me
You've
just
heard
come
the
in.
saying that
Linda.
Okay,
the cries of a frog cannot stop a cow from drinking.
Linda,
That's it.
Linda.
We are
This is an
making
election, Joy.
Linda,
50 plus
Linda,
million Kenyans. Yes,
Linda.
yes, Chrispus.
The law is very explicit on what circumstances warrant the postponement of an election. I'll tell you one of them.
Yes.
Is should, God forbid, one of the candidates, presidential candidates, dies.
Okay.
Number two, in the event of a war. So Joy should not be sitting here and telling us that actually for us to postpone an election, we require a referendum.
We
Change
actually
the
do.
date.
Honestly, we do.
I know, but you know,
Okay,
there are other
this
there are other
particular
procedures.
election is already water under the bridge. This one
I
has
know,
to
I know,
happen.
I know.
And
But
unless now,
I was actually
excepting
trying to
if we
advance a different argument, but this is actually the point, Linda. It is very important for us to sit down as a country and look at the issues that are surrounding this particular election. Actually, we won't want to witness the 2007, 2008
Exactly.
post-election violence. As a country, we need to build consensus around IBC, around all the processes that govern this election.
Okay.
For Chebukati to be sitting down with a presidential candidate and trying to tell them that I need to fly you to Dubai, I think it is not something that he should be doing right now. For me, the biggest problem that the IBC is doing, or the biggest blunder that the IBC is doing, is actually playing into the hands of political players.
But what if we look at it from the other spectrum? If you look at it in the sense that this is a bad hand, we have been dealt a bad hand. We did not want, I don't want to pronounce it, Amaluya, and things are tough. But I didn't want this farm doing the tender, but now they're doing it. Then the alternative is to be so meticulous about all the observing the rest of the process, such that this one factor does not negate everything else. So, like Chebukati is saying, come, let's go see what's going on with them. Maybe that's not a very helpful process. You need technical people to be able to see that. But even coming back home, on that day, have your observers be very meticulous. Have your people be very meticulous. With this system where we're using electronics now, it means that the number of voters who use their biometrics to register and the number of ballots cast must be the same. So ballot stuffing is almost not going to be part of our equation this time. So it's keeping an audit of the systems, because if we do that, if we are alive to the fact that there was a problem with the ballot papers to begin with, and we become meticulous with the rest of the processes up to and including post-election, we might actually find that the process ends up being very credible and acceptable to all. But if we get stuck on one point and say, oh, if the tender is not cancelled, then nothing can happen, this country has to move on. Kenyans are fed up with this election mode. We want to vote and get over and done with.
But you see, Kenyans want a credible process.
We do. But that's what I'm saying. We can ensure a credible process, but being more alive.
A credible election?
Something that is transparent, that can be
understood.
Is
this transparent?
That's what I'm saying. This one is one of those things you say, but then this one, I've already been snookered. Because it's true.
There's no snookering here. We have how many days?
With 52 days to the elections. Even if you say reopen the tender, when are we going to award those things?
But Joy,
then we'll have the
Listen,
problem that Jubilee had. It will be election morning and we still don't have ballot papers. Then it's chaos across Kenya. For 3 days, people waiting in the ballot
Linda,
station,
this is what I'm saying.
waiting to vote.
Actually, the question that we should be addressing as a country is the question of trust and confidence. You can do all those processes. You can even take the presidential candidates to Dubai to witness, even their technical experts. But so long as I have doubts on your credibility, Linda,
you already
I'll
have a
never
problem.
be satisfied.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see how this goes. Chebukati says we don't have time. We can't cancel this tender. Chrispus, Yankem, Joy, Brenda, Mbivo, thank you so much. Joy, we need to have more of this conversation.
I know.
Because you seem convinced we are having this election whichever way.
This election is going to happen. Even if you have to write on a piece of paper.
No.